Hello, everyone. You made it. This is the end of World War II. This is your last set of notes. You guys have done so well. I tried my best to condense it down to the main ideas while still providing some information, like extra information, too. So, this is going to be focused on US involvement in World War II, obviously, because we're in AP US history. And it's also going to take us to the end of World War II as well. Full disclosure, just want to let you know that I'm recording this lecture sitting next to both my puppies. So if they bark randomly, I apologize. I don't think they will, but you know what? I don't know how well they know English. I told them to be quiet, but who knows? So here we go, guys. This is U.S. involvement in World War II, taking place 1941 to 1945. That's December of 1941 is when Pearl Harbor happened. We start sending troops in 1942, so that's why I said it's about 3 years. Here we go. So when we are entering into World War II, obviously 2 years of fighting have already happened. 39, 40, 41, actually almost 3 years of World War II has already happened. But I always like this map because I think it shows us kind of, I don't know, it shows us a lot, in my opinion. Look at the yellow. That's the Allied powered countries. Um, yeah. And then the red is the Axis power countries. So keep in mind, Axis powers are mainly Germany, Italy, and Japan. They have also conquered and forced other people to join their side: Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and Finland. But again, the three main people are Germany, Italy, and Japan. If I really had to narrow it down, it's Germany and Japan. Italy is kind of like that side, like that side character, that buddy that's just kind of going along with the ride. But obviously, Germany and Japan are calling the shots. But then there's the yellow. These are the Allied powers. We have the United States, Britain, France, the Soviet Union, Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, China, Denmark, Greece, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, India, South Africa. Yeah. People in the Allied group are either sending money, weapons, resources, men, like soldiers, women to support the side, the front lines as well, or they're doing all of those things. So I just want to let you guys know this is AP US history. I have to focus on the US stuff, but I never want us to feel like we won a World War II all by ourselves. No way. Obviously, it's a lot of effort from a lot of people. Okay, why are we looking at this map? I think this map shows you the scope of the Allied powers. I think it shows you how many people were on one side, how much manpower, how much force, how much like economic resources. Okay, so it should show you how strong the Allied powers are. However, I think this map also actually shows you how strong the Axis powers are. Because believe it or not, by 1941, the Axis powers have proven to be a threat to the rest of the world. The Axis powers have taken down already France, which was a powerful ally. They have conquered other powerful allies. They have gone toe to toe with England. They have gone toe to toe with the Soviet Union. So keep in mind here that yes, this map does show you how powerful the Allied powers are. It also should show you the strength of the Axis powers. So when little old America wants to join, okay? Ooh, made a circle. When little old America wants to join, we have a decision. We can either attack Japan with everything we've got, like go really, really, really like put everything towards Japan, which would actually be this direction, okay? Because the Earth is like a globe. So I know it looks all the way over here, but Japan's actually really close to us right over here. Okay, we got Hawaii down here somewhere. And we can just go, boom, boom, attack everything full force Japan. Or we can go join everybody in Europe. Obviously, we have to send people to both sides. Obviously, we have to fight in both fronts, and that's very difficult. But strategically, we might want to focus our efforts in one area. So, is it going to be Japan first or Europe first? What do you think? My markings are still there. That's awkward. Hold on. It's actually going to be Europe first. Now, in your notes, I want you to put, why do you think America chose to fight in Europe first rather than the Pacific? I'm not going to tell you the answer. But why do you think, in your opinion, hint, there is no answer really. I have some theories. But why do you think we went to Europe first? Okay, let's zoom in on Europe. A lot is going on here. Let's look at the colors because the colors mean different stuff now. The yellow color is the Axis. Okay, of course we have Germany and we have Italy. We have Axis controlled areas. Uh-oh, that's the stripy stuff with the red, or sorry, with the green and the yellow. Oof, that is stuff that the Axis has already taken over and they control it. Jeez Louise. Green are the allies. We have Great Britain over here on the left. We have the Soviet Union. We have a couple places in Africa as well. And we have some neutral things. You know, countries that are not going to participate. They are truly neutral, you know, like we used to be neutral. They are not going to help or hurt anybody. So remember, before you start judging these countries, we were neutral too. So Sweden's neutral, Ireland's neutral. What the heck? I don't know how Switzerland became neutral, but they are. They're not helping, they're not hurting, they're protecting their borders, but that's it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what the heck is happening in Europe? This map should tell you that, holy moly, a lot of stuff is happening. The Allied forces their goal is to basically surround the Axis, okay? So that's the goal here. And hopefully you see that with all these crazy arrows and stuff. We have the Soviet Union over here on the east. They are leading the charge over here on the east. So you can see some major arrows right here going from, oh my gosh. Hopefully you can't hear my puppy snoring. I'm sorry. Let me move it a little bit. I realized he was snoring right where the computer was. So sorry if you heard anything. Okay, so sorry. Over here on the left, or on the right, we have the Soviet Union coming in from the east. They're a very powerful military. So we are thankful that Hitler stabbed Stalin in the back and that they're now our buddy, because that's going to be very nice. You can also see the Allies are coming in from the south. That's a very strategic area. We send a lot of men to go fight down here. Their goal is to go starting kind of in Egypt, fight all the way, get through Italy, conquer Italy, the weaker of the Axis powers, reclaim and liberate all that stuff, and then boom, target Germany. So you see the plan here. The Soviet Union is going to come in from the east. We're going to send a lot of people, along with other countries, coming from the south. And then a very strategic last little front is right here where you see Great Britain and France. We know that the Axis powers, specifically Germany, has taken over France. We know there's a lot of soldiers that are trapped in France. And so if we unlock France and if we defeat the Axis powers there, okay, it will protect Great Britain, we will liberate France, and then boom, we are the last piece of the puzzle coming in to attack Germany. So if all three of these plans work, which, spoiler alert, they do work, if all three of these plans work, Germany will have to surrender. So, let's do it. You guys know that Stalin and Hitler had a pact. It was the Soviet-Nazi pact. They basically, again, they agreed to not fight against each other. But when Hitler wants to take over the world, that of course also means the Soviet Union. So Hitler did backstab Stalin. So now Stalin and the Soviet Union are part of the Allied powers. Keep in mind, we don't really trust Stalin and the Soviet Union. But if you remember from another lecture, the thing of it is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if we both hate Hitler, then we can work together. So the Soviet Union, while being powerful, they were fighting against the German forces, who were also really powerful. But this is a big moment. The Axis powers have been on the offensive for most of World War II. That means they've been on attack mode. They've been gobbling up more and more land. I mean, come on, look at the orange. They've been gobbling more and more land, including land that the Soviet Union has, and it's been annoying because they've always been on the offensive. They haven't been losing many battles until now. It's 1942. We have a turning point. This is Stalingrad. It's right here in the bottom right hand. Do you see this little explosion? This is one of the capital cities. Okay, it's literally named after Stalin. Lots of battling, lots of death. The Soviets actually lost over 1 million soldiers, but they were not going to give up. Germany surrendered. The Soviet Union is now moving westward. So coming in from the east, they're moving west. You know that their goal is to get to Germany, and it's going to happen. But why this is so important is because it shows you that the Axis powers, specifically Germany, is weakening. Now that the Soviet Union has the momentum, they're going to keep pushing and pushing back, and Germany will be on the defensive now rather than the offensive. Okay, do you remember that one of the areas that we have to do, let me go back to this map. One of the areas that we have to do as part of the puzzle is this right here, Great Britain. We're going to start in Great Britain with our British allies, okay, whatever ones are left, and we are going to, boom, right here, cross the English Channel and liberate France. Okay, Hitler and his army knew that we were going to do that, and we knew that they knew, which sounds confusing. We suspected that the Nazi Party would know that we were going to go across the English Channel. Okay, so I think this is so cool. We set up a trap, a decoy. This is called the Ghost Army. The Ghost Army's mission was to impersonate an Allied army unit in order to deceive the enemy. It was a trick. It was a visual deception. They made codes that they knew that the Germans could intercept, and Hitler took the bait. Look how cool this patch is. This was a secret even during World War II and after World War II, but obviously since we're way past World War II, we now have leaked all this information. But guys, look at this. You see these 4 guys? They are not super strong. What? They're holding a big old tank. That tank is an inflatable tank. Yes. So what the heck is happening here? This little green blob on the top is England. We set up camp right here at the tip. I don't know if you could see my mouse moving, but right here at the tip over here, we set up all these inflatable military stuff so that if Germany flew by, they would think we were setting up our offensive right here, that we would cross this tiny little part of the English Channel, and that we would land over here. Hitler's army took the bait and sent a lot of people up north to this location, where in reality, down here in Normandy was our plan all along. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is so cool. I love learning secret stuff that our government did, but I love these pictures of guys holding tanks above their head. I bet they totally bragged to all the ladies back in America and be like, oh, look how strong I am. But yeah, inflatable tank, pretty cool. But keep in mind, even though Hitler's army took the bait, and even though a lot of them went up north, holy moly, this offensive was super important and super difficult. You guys know what I'm talking about. This is D-Day. D-Day is a very important battle that you need to know from World War II. If this didn't work, we have the 2 other fronts. We have the Soviet Union coming in from the east. We have all of our troops coming in from Italy. That's already in motion. But this is super critical to the plan. And we need to win at D-Day. We need to break through the Nazi line. We need to break into France and make the Germans retreat. Dwight D. Eisenhower is the general of the U.S. Army at this time. D-Day, this is the largest land-sea air operation in Army history, because we have people that are obviously in the Navy ships. We have people that are, like coming off the boats and into land and fighting on land. We also have a bunch of people that are paratrooping in. This is huge. 3 million British, American, and Canadian troops are landing on these different French beaches. And the goal? Liberate France, fight through Europe, and win. Now, I'm going to link a video to the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. Watch it. That video, especially the first couple minutes, it always brings me in to the sacrifice that all of these men did for freedom, for our country. It's remarkable, their bravery and their courage with what they were going up against. From this view, this is a picture, a primary source picture from one of the boats entering the beaches. Keep in mind, even though, again, some of the Nazi army is up north, there were so many people here waiting for them. They really defended this area, and it was a very hard opponent to defeat. So even though you guys know that we do win D-Day, we do break through the wall, we do break through the offensive, it was a huge sacrifice, and many, many people lost their lives or were severely injured because of this. So what I wanted to actually pause here, I wanted you to actually see and listen to the speech that Dwight D. Eisenhower, he delivered over the radio. And we actually have it. I'm going to play his voice saying it. But this is on the day of D-Day. This is the day of, the morning of, before they're about to go do one of the most dangerous, most courageous military adventures ever. This is what their leader wants to say to them. So let's give it a listen.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
I just always find this speech just amazing. I can just imagine the fear that these soldiers, sailors, and airmen must have had, just to be scared to fight in World War II, to fight against such a powerful force. There's so much fear, but in this speech from their leader, I just see confidence upon confidence. I love how the leader, Eisenhower, he's like, you will. You're going to win. You will bring about the destruction of the German war machine. You will eliminate Nazi tyranny over oppressed people of Europe. You will make us secure. in this world. Now, again, he also is real. He says this is not going to be easy. Everyone knows in World War II how powerful the German army is, the Nazi army is. But guess what? Their leader has full confidence in his soldiers. And I just think, even though this speech is short, it's one of my favorite speeches in US history, because I just love how motivating it is, how clear it is. And it might be one of the reasons that men continued to step off this boat, step onto France, and march forth to victory. So it works. I told you, spoiler alert, it works. The stuff coming in from the east, going in westward, boom, that is working. Our offensive coming in through Italy, it works. Italy surrenders, and we have one goal to get to Germany, and then boom, D-Day worked. We liberated France, and we go to Germany. Germany got weaker and weaker. It started retreating. They liberated the death camps as they were going on. And there was officially VE Day, which is Victory in Europe Day, May 8th, 1945. Hitler committed suicide, and of course we have the other Nazi party, other Nazi leaders to deal with. Okay, just want to do a quick pause in here. Something happened during World War II. Our faithful leader, our leader for such a long time, FDR, President Roosevelt actually died a month before VE Day from a stroke, and Vice President Truman became the 33rd president. This 22nd Amendment in 1951 limits the term to a president to 2 years. You guys remember that Washington did 2 terms, and everyone else kind of did it in tradition to him, but it wasn't an official rule. So that's why FDR was able to run for 4 terms. Roosevelt had just won his 4th term. And in 1951, they do officially set the limits. Now, there were some people that were against this 4-term business. In fact, a guy named Dewey, Thomas E. Dewey, he stated that 4 terms or 16 years is the most dangerous threat to our freedom ever proposed. So I want your honest opinion. In your notes, should presidents be limited to 2 terms? Why or why not? Okay, that was just a little aside. It's a big moment in US history that happened in the middle of World War II. Okay, you guys know World War II is not over. We did win in Europe, but now it's on to the Pacific. Pause here. Okay, don't actually pause the video. But look how big Japan's empire is. This island right here is, of course, Japan. You see the word Japan right here. Okay, this is Japan. But everything else in red or pink, whatever shade this is Japan's new empire. These are conquests and acquisitions that they have made during World War II. Oh my gosh. One of the things that Japan recently did was take over parts of Korea and Manchuria, which is part of China. This was a very violent and aggressive and imperialistic action. Some people think it was just like us participating in imperialism, and some people thought it was more aggressive than what we did in imperialism. But regardless, Japan definitely believes in imperialism, as you can see by the empire that they are conquering. Now, one theory as to why we might have chosen Europe over Japan is because we truly thought Europe might have been a bigger threat. Japan was the one that attacked us in Pearl Harbor. Why did we not put all of our effort into defeating Japan? Some people think it's because we truly thought Germany was a bigger threat. Some people thought maybe it's because we had allies in Europe and we wanted to keep our allies alive as well. Regardless, we do send people to Japan, but it's not till later that we put all of our full focus on Japan. So fighting in Japan, so we have General Eisenhower, who is leading the European front. We have General MacArthur, who is leading the Pacific front. And it is so difficult fighting Japan that General MacArthur actually had to retreat from the Philippines. Now he did the whole like, Terminator, like I'll be back, but it was I shall return, much more formal. Something that happened when we were fighting Japan, we did something called Doolittle's Raid. This was named after one of the commanding officers, and it was basically a Pearl Harbor like air raid on Tokyo. People thought it was kind of like revenge for what happened in Pearl Harbor. And then we also have something called the Battle of the Coral Sea. Again, this is just us examples of us fighting Japan, Americans and Australians versus the Japanese. But guys, Japan is going to prove to be a very difficult opponent. There's a turning point. So Japan was conquering. I mean, look at this giant thing, right? Whoa! Japan was conquering, and then boom. We fight them in the Battle of Midway. So do you see this right here? In the midway between America and Japan. Right there, Battle of Midway. It's a turning point because we finally win. Some people think that this is where we avenged Pearl Harbor. And from the Battle of Midway, we go island hopping. It's exactly what we sound. It sounds like we don't go actually hopping, but we go from island to island, fighting Japan, kicking them out, and winning back territory. And again, the idea is that we're moving closer to Japan. So Japan's whole empire is all of this. This was the Battle of Midway up at the top. We win. Woohoo! And now we go from island to island. Boom, 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 boom. Everywhere you see an explosion is a major battle. And we're fighting Japan on all these areas, kicking them out and reclaiming that area, liberating these areas like the Philippines, like Indochina. They don't want to be taken over by Japan, so we're helping them and defeating Japan in the process. So this is called island hopping. One of the places we island hopped to is called Guadalcanal. Many of our soldiers wrote down that this was the island of death and that it felt like hell. Again, they were very descriptive. As you're going to see, this is their description of Guadalcanal. Hell was red fury spiders as big as your fist. Don't write this down, okay? Just write down what's in red. Hell was red fury spiders as big as your fist, giant lizards as long as your legs, leeches falling from trees to suck blood, armies of white ants with a bite of fire, scurrying scorpions inflaming any flesh they touched, enormous rats and bats everywhere, and rivers with waiting crocodiles. Hell was the sour, foul smell of the squishy jungle, humidity that rotted a body within hours, stinking, wet heat of dripping rainforest that sapped the strength of any man. So it's hard to fight in these areas. That's what they're saying, and sounds just so terrible. But why is this important? Despite how difficult this was, this is Japan's first land defeat. This is big. We are island hopping and we are taking down Japan, but they have a new defense. Something new that they pulled out of their back pocket, and it is effective. It's the kamikaze. Kamikaze are suicide plane attacks. They are the people from Japan that have so much loyalty for their country. So much loyalty. They will die for their country, and they actually know that they're going to die for their country. They sign up to be a kamikaze pilot. They know that they are the weapon. Rather than shooting a missile and maybe missing, if you are the missile, you're not going to miss. If you know your mission, you're not going to miss. And so the kamikaze, oh my gosh, they definitely hurt us. They sunk so many ships and severely damaged so many other ones. These planes that were coming right at us, right at our ships. And what's interesting is our soldiers, when asked about the kamikazes, they said they had a strange mixture of respect and pity. In your notes, why do you think our soldiers respected the kamikazes? And why do you think they showed pity for the kamikazes? Okay, I zoomed in on the island hopping. Are you ready? Boom, boom, island hopping, boom, boom. But where are we going? Again, we're aiming for Japan. We're trying to take the battle to the mainland. We do have to island hop to get there. We want to weaken Japan, but we're noticing something. The closer we get to Japan, the harder the fight is. Obviously, that makes sense. But the closer we get to Japan, the more difficult the fighting. So, ladies and gentlemen, the two most difficult fights between us and Japan were Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Let's start first with Iwo Jima. Our soldiers called this Sulphur Island, or an ugly, smelly glob of cold lava squatting in a surly ocean. Exactly the place you want to fight. It was heavily defended. More than 6,000 Marines died taking this island. But we took it, we won, and the Allies moved forward. When we win a battle, our soldiers put an American flag to commemorate it. Sometimes it's only for a quick picture, sometimes they leave the flag up. In this case, this was for a quick picture. But this isn't the famous picture from Iwo Jima. This is. It's kind of crazy, it's kind of cool. So a photographer took this picture, then he saw that they were going to remove that flag and put a bigger flag up. And so he snapped out his camera real quick to get this picture in motion before the flag was fully put up. Now, in your notes, please answer number 1 and 2. There's a reason why this is one of the most famous photographs in all US history. It's one of the most famous photographs in World War II for sure. Number 1, what do you observe in this photograph? And number 2, what human qualities or ideas does this photograph symbolize? And fun fact, this is a mural in downtown Bakersfield. Extra credit if you take a selfie with it. Okay? It's really pretty, and I think they have an actual flag as the part of it. So find it. It's in downtown Bakersfield. Not going to tell you anything else. There we go. Okay, Iwo Jima is one of the islands closest to Japan. The second island closest to Japan is Okinawa. In April 1945, the US Marines invaded Okinawa. The Japanese unleashed more than 1,900 kamikaze attacks. They sunk 30 ships. Guys, that's crazy. Damaged more than 300 more ships, killed almost 5,000 sailors. On land, 7,600 Americans had died, and get this, 110,000 Japanese died. Ladies and gentlemen, the Japanese army was just filled with so many soldiers that would not give up, had so much loyalty for their country. Again, I think we underestimated this opponent, and we are realizing how big of an opponent they are. Okay, I'm not going to go into much detail on this. Look up these 3 key terms, but we're actually going to be debating on the atomic bomb. We're going to be debating if it was necessary. So keep in mind the story so far. We've island hopped all the way to the 2 islands right in front of Japan, and we have taken over those 2 islands. We've beaten Iwo Jima and we've beaten Okinawa. Now the question comes, do we use the atomic bomb, or do we do another invasion, in a land, sea, air invasion, and take Japan the old-fashioned way? You guys know that we do choose to use the atomic bomb twice, once on Hiroshima, the second one on Nagasaki. Look these up online, but you're going to also do it for the atomic bomb assignment. But the idea here is that we did use it, and Japan did surrender. So here we go. We're in the end of World War II. Wait a second. I wanted to see if anyone caught it. So Germany has surrendered, Italy has surrendered, and Japan has surrendered. So the big three meet up. We got Stalin, the Soviet Union, obviously a big allied power. FDR, when he was still alive, big US power. Churchill, and who's this guy? What is he doing there? I don't think he was around during that time. That's Bernie Sanders for you people who don't understand. It was supposed to be a joke. Just tell me you're laughing to make my day. Okay, here we go. The real picture's over here. So when FDR was still alive, they met up and they had the Yalta Conference. This was right after VE Day. This is kind of when they know, sorry, this is right before VE Day. They are planning for Germany's surrender. They kind of wanted to get ahead on the game. Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin are going to meet once they realize that the Allies are winning the war. This was to kickstart the conversation. How do we want to deal with Germany? I love the confidence. We know we're going to win, so how are we going to deal with Germany? Stalin raises his hand. I don't know if he actually rose his hand, but Stalin raises his hand and he says, you know what? I have a great idea. What if we separate Germany into occupation zones and the Allied military controls their entire livelihood? Sound like a good idea? Awesome, cool. Keep in mind, Stalin is very threatened by Germany. The fact that Germany lost World War I and was still able to rise from the ashes and be such a powerful force in World War II, it frankly scares Stalin as a leader in Europe. So his idea is let's crumble Germany and watch over them like a hawk to make sure that they never rise up again. Churchill, while also intimidated by Germany, is having flashbacks to what we did in World War I. We punished Germany so hard in World War I that we basically created the foundation for chaos, aka created the foundation for World War II. So Churchill thinks this is a terrible idea. We should not go too heavy on the punishments. Roosevelt says we have a compromise. The compromise, I'll come back to the other side, sorry. The compromise is temporary divisions. So it is maybe a good idea to divide Germany up initially because we don't want Germany or any leftover Nazis. We don't want them to rise up to power again. Hitler is dead, but we are fearful that somebody else in the Nazi party would just kickstart all the craziness again, and we do not want that. So what we do is we make a compromise. So, temporary divisions of Germany, you can look at this little picture right here. Green, yellow, orange, and pink. Everyone gets a section. The Americans get a section, the British people get a section, the French people get a section, and the Soviets get a section. These are the top 4 strongest Allied powers in Europe, and so they each get to watch over a part of Germany. Again, the key idea here is temporary. Okay? So this kind of makes Stalin happy. They get a portion, they get this yellow portion, okay? Now keep in mind, if you actually zoom in, Berlin is the capital of Germany, and they actually split up Berlin too. Now keep in mind, this will be very important for the Cold War. Some of you already knew. You guys need to look at these 3 colors right here. Green, pink, orange. This is America, Britain, France. You guys know that we 3 are very similar in our thinking. And this yellow piece over here, controlled by the Soviet Union, they do not think like us. So when the Cold War happens, we will actually come back to this same image because some crap is going to go down and it's not going to be good. Okay, so we did this to make Stalin happy, but we made it temporary to make Churchill happy. And to make everybody but Stalin happy is we wanted to make sure that Poland wasn't taken over by a crazy big power. You guys remember that when Germany took over Poland, that kickstarted the official start to World War II. We want Poland to be left alone. So we made Stalin promise us at the Yalta Conference, we made Stalin say, you have to make sure that Poland has free elections. Don't take over Poland. Let Poland be Poland. And Stalin agreed. Spoiler alert. He's not going to follow that. Heck no. Okay, this is when they actually execute the stuff that was mentioned in Yalta. So Yalta happened February 1945. Potsdam happened August of 1945. This is now officially, okay, when Japan surrendered, Germany has already surrendered. We don't have FDR anymore. We have Truman, but Truman's cool. And then Churchill and then Stalin again. Interesting handshake, guys. Interesting. They meet up, they divided up Germany, and now they're talking about what do we do with Japan. Hold up, before we get to Japan, what about those Nazis? Okay, we got a bunch of Nazis of all different types. And this is called the Nuremberg Trials. So we put 24 Nazi leaders on trial for crimes against humanity, crimes against the peace, and war crimes. We looked at all the evidence, we looked at people's confessions, we looked at all the stuff that happened that we had, records of, and 12 out of the 24 were sentenced to death, and the rest of the 12 were sent to prison. Some for 1 life sentence, some for 2 life sentences, some for like 40 years, whatever, depending on the leader and what they were a part of and what they did and what we had evidence of, they were given those punishments. We also put other Nazis on trial, and we had 200 more Nazis that were later found guilty of war crimes, so they got a varied amount of punishment. But there were many Nazis that also did go free. I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, one of the most popular things that happened, which I will kind of tell you the resolution later, but one of the most popular things that happened at the Nuremberg trials is when a Nazi was being questioned, often they would say this phrase: they were just following orders. In your opinion, is that an okay excuse? Why or why not? Just following orders. I was just following orders. Interesting. Okay, opinion number 2. Is it legitimate to hold people accountable for crimes that were committed during wartime? Why or why not? I can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts. Okay, so we deal with the Nazis, kind of. What do we do with Japan? So Japan changes from a totalitarian government to a democracy. General MacArthur actually is in command of Japan, and there's a 7-year occupation. So it's not forever. Before some of you freak out, we didn't just imperialize Japan. But we have learned that if we're overthrowing someone's government, which we kind of did, Hirohito was their totalitarian leader, Tojo was their military officer. We have overthrown them and kicked them out. We weren't just going to ditch them and say, good luck, Japan, have fun. We do stay, and some of you will like this, that we do kind of mix our ideas of a democracy and we bring that into their country. So the Japan of today is nothing like the Japan of World War II. I want you to make sure you know that. Japanese officials were tried for their crimes. We brought free market practices in the economy, which is like capitalism that we have. They wrote a new constitution that gave women's right to vote in the country, finally. And there was written specific basic freedoms. And still to this day, it's called the MacArthur Constitution. Okay, you're almost done. I know this is a very long lecture. You guys are doing so good. Okay, the final effects on the home front. So, you remember that thing called the Great Depression? Well, guess what? Some people argue, and you can kind of see by the first fact, some people argue that the New Deal did not solve the Great Depression, but that World War II actually solved the Great Depression. Unemployment fell to 1.2% in 1944. That means like barely anybody is unemployed. With all of this money from these new jobs, many people were able to save money. Farmers' income tripled and benefited from new machinery and fertilizer. There were 6 million women working, 35% of the workforce, and they were doing quote unquote challenging work during the war. This is huge. There's something called the GI Bill of Rights that gets created. It provided education and training for veterans paid by the federal government. So we understand that we shipped so many people off into World War II. Some of these boys were 18 years old, ready to go to college, and we said, you're gonna go fight in Europe for 4 years. Other plans, but great. So now that they're back, all of these veterans, they get to either go to college for free by the federal government, they get to go to trade schools for free, they get help with down here, help with federal loans for buying homes, for buying farms, for starting new businesses. 7.8 million veterans attend colleges or technical schools under the GI Bill. This is one of the biggest, most beneficial things that we gave to our veterans after World War II. We gave nothing like this to our veterans after World War I or after the Civil War, any of that. This is a huge step forward. Now, keep in mind, I know that we live in 2021. One of the things that are still not offered is a plethora of mental health support, counseling support after coming back from war. I mean, this isn't perfect, guys, but for the 1940s, this kind of stuff is awesome. Okay, you can totally skip this if you want. It's a 1-minute story, I promise, but I just have to tell you, it's super cute. My grandpa, when he was growing up, he went to college. He went to community college in Los Angeles. He lived in LA, and he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. He was not sure. And so one day he looked at the newspaper and he saw that the GI Bill of Rights was ending. He saw that the GI Bill was expiring like in a month, and they were no longer going to be offering these kinds of services to people. And so my grandpa was like, oh, shoot, free education, free training. I should just sign up for the Army so that he gets these benefits before they expire. So he did. He signed up for the US Army. Now, he signed up in between wars. We were technically in the Cold War, but we weren't in the Korean War. We weren't in the Vietnam War. And he got sent to Germany to do language stuff. So he knew German and he knew Russian, and he was just supposed to be listening for anything sketchy. But that's where he met my grandmother, and that's when they fell in love. And they moved back to America. She came with him, and it's just a beautiful story. But I just think it's funny that he would have never signed up for the Army if the GI Bill was not expiring. So, since he signed up in time, he was able to come back home after he served with my grandma. They got married here, and then he became a teacher, an elementary school teacher, got his education and training paid for by the federal government, and he's the best grandpa ever. So, fun story about the GI Bill of Rights. Not going to be on the AP test. Okay. Racial discrimination, obviously, is still happening in America after World War II, but James Farmer, gotta love him, he founded the interracial organization called CORE, Congress of Racial Equality. This is going to be big later in the civil rights movement, too. Specifically, its focus is urban segregation in the northern states. But something cool is that by 1945, there had already been 400 committees that had been established by African Americans to improve race relations. Why am I bringing this up? World War II gave people a sense of power and equality. But then after World War II ended, it was like, oh, life is normal. Let's go back to discriminating each other. And people were like, wait, no. We just fought for freedom. We both were soldiers on World War II. You're white, I'm black. We were equal when we were fighting. Why aren't we equal when we come back home in America? So I know that these ideas don't seem connected, but they are. World War II changed the way that some people viewed our country. and it empowered some people, both women and people of color, and it empowered people to fight for freedom and equality even after World War II. Okay, something huge gets created. This is called the United Nations. Guess what? It's an international peacekeeping organization. Sound familiar? It facilitates cooperation in international law, international security, economic development, social progress, and human rights issues. It's founded in 1945 and signed by 50 countries, and it replaces the League of Nations. And this time, we join. I love the United Nations. And we'll talk about that more in the Cold War, but this is a direct result of World War II. We want to prevent World War III, and so far they've done that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last slide. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe you made it. I need you to tell me, overall, how has America changed due to their involvement in World War II? I mean, I feel like we've changed so much, and I don't want to give you all the answers, but just think about life before World War II, life after World War II. How has our country changed? The one that you need to write down, though, is that we have proved that we are a superpower. We are not going to dip into isolationism ever again. Do you remember World War One? And after World War One, we went isolated? Spoiler alert. World War II sets us as one of the most powerful countries in the world, and we will never become neutral or isolated again. We stay in that position of authority even today in 2021. So that's one way that we've changed after World War II. But can you think of any other things that have changed as a country because of our involvement in World War II? Oh my gosh, guys, you're amazing. You made it. I'm so proud of you. Can't wait to debate the atomic bomb. Love you. Bye.